At 90 years old, Dr. William Harrison should have been slowing down. His colleagues had long since retired to golf courses and grandchildren visits. His body should have been betraying him with the typical ailments that come with age. But instead, something remarkable was happening. Every morning at 5:30 a.m., Dr. Harrison would spring out of bed with the energy of a man half his age. His mind was sharp, his hands steady, and his heart was beating with the rhythm of someone who had discovered something most people never do. While his peers struggled with medications, fatigue, and the slow decline that seems inevitable after 60, Dr. Harrison had unlocked 5 simple morning secrets that didn't just add years to his life, but life to his years. These weren't complicated medical procedures or expensive treatments. They weren't trendy superfoods or exotic supplements that cost hundreds of dollars. What Dr. Harrison discovered were 5 simple, everyday practices that anyone could do in their own home, starting tomorrow morning. And the results were nothing short of extraordinary. But here's what makes his story even more compelling. Dr. Harrison wasn't always this vibrant. In fact, at 65, he was headed down the same path as many of his patients. His energy was declining, his blood pressure was creeping up, and he found himself reaching for pills to solve problems that pills couldn't really fix. It was then that he made a decision that would change everything. He decided to experiment on himself, using the same scientific rigor he'd applied to treating patients for over 4 decades. What he discovered challenged everything he thought he knew about aging. These 5 morning practices didn't just improve his health, they transformed it completely. And now, at 90, he's sharing these secrets because he believes everyone deserves to feel alive, energetic, and healthy, regardless of their age. If you've ever wondered why some people seem to age gracefully while others struggle with every passing year, the answer might be simpler than you think. It might come down to what happens in the first hour after you wake up. So stay with me, because by the end of this video, you'll know exactly what Dr. Harrison does every single morning, and more importantly, how you can start doing it too. Before we dive in, I'd love to know where you're watching from today. Drop a comment below and tell me your age, because what I'm about to share works at any age, but it's especially powerful for those of us over 60. And don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell, because the health tips I share could genuinely change your life. Now, let's start with Dr. Harrison's first morning secret, and it's probably not what you'd expect from a cardiologist. The first secret, the 2-minute breathing revolution. Dr. Harrison discovered this secret quite by accident. It was a particularly stressful morning in 2005. He was 68. Running late for surgery, and feeling the familiar tightness in his chest that had become his unwelcome morning companion. Instead of rushing out the door as usual, something made him stop. Maybe it was the cardiologist in him recognizing the warning signs, or maybe it was simple intuition, but he sat on the edge of his bed and took 2 minutes to breathe. Not just any breathing, but something he'd learned decades earlier in medical school and forgotten in the rush of daily life. He placed one hand on his chest, one on his belly, and began breathing slowly and deeply, making sure his belly rose more than his chest. In through his nose for 4 counts, holding for 4, out through his mouth for 6. That's it. 2 minutes of intentional breathing. What happened next surprised him. The tightness in his chest melted away. His mind became clearer. His hands stopped shaking. But most remarkably, when he checked his blood pressure later that day, it had dropped 15 points from his morning reading. This wasn't a coincidence, he realized. This was physiology in action. You see, when we wake up, our bodies are flooded with cortisol, the stress hormone that's supposed to get us moving. But for many people over 60, this morning cortisol surge can be overwhelming. It spikes blood pressure, increases inflammation, and sets the tone for a day of feeling anxious and overwhelmed. But deep, intentional breathing activates something called the parasympathetic nervous system, which is like hitting a reset button on your body's stress response. Dr. Harrison began studying this more seriously. He found research showing that just 2 minutes of deep breathing could reduce cortisol levels by up to 25%. It could lower blood pressure, improve heart rate variability, and even boost the immune system. But more than the science, he experienced the transformation personally. Those 2 minutes became the foundation of every good day that followed. Here's how you can do it exactly like Dr. Harrison does. Sit on the edge of your bed as soon as you wake up. Place your left hand on your chest, your right hand on your belly. Breathe in slowly through your nose while counting to 4, making sure your right hand rises more than your left. Hold that breath for 4 counts. Then exhale slowly through your mouth for 6 counts. Repeat this cycle for exactly 2 minutes. Don't worry about doing it perfectly. Dr. Harrison says the magic isn't in the perfection, it's in the consistency. Even if your mind wanders, even if you lose count, even if you feel silly doing it, those 2 minutes are rewiring your nervous system for calm, clarity, and health. And if you're thinking 2 minutes sounds too simple to make a difference, remember that Dr. Harrison is living proof that simple can be profound. The second secret, the ancient water ritual. The second secret came to Dr. Harrison through an unlikely source, his grandmother. At 89, she was visiting him, and he noticed something peculiar about her morning routine. Before she did anything else, before coffee, before breakfast, before even getting dressed, she would drink 2 full glasses of room-temperature water. When he asked her about it, she smiled and said, "Billy, the body is like a garden. You water it first thing, and everything else grows better." His grandmother lived to be 102, with a mind sharp as a tack and a body that barely showed her age. As a cardiologist, Dr. Harrison was intrigued. Could something as simple as water really make that much difference? So he began researching, and what he found amazed him. After 6 to 8 hours of sleep, the human body is in a state of mild dehydration. The blood becomes thicker, making the heart work harder to pump it through the body. The kidneys struggle to filter toxins efficiently. The brain, which is 75% water, operates in a fog of dehydration that we've learned to accept as normal morning grogginess. But it doesn't have to be this way. Dr. Harrison discovered that drinking 16 to 20 ounces of water immediately upon waking, before anything else, could dramatically improve cardiovascular function, boost metabolism, and enhance mental clarity. The water doesn't just rehydrate you, it jump-starts your entire system. It helps flush out toxins that have accumulated overnight. It kickstarts your metabolism, and it prepares your digestive system for the day ahead. But here's the key that most people miss. The water must be room temperature, not cold. Cold water actually shocks the system and requires energy to warm up in the stomach. Room temperature water, on the other hand, is absorbed immediately and begins its work of rehydration right away. Dr. Harrison made this his second non-negotiable morning practice. Right after his 2 minutes of breathing, he would drink his 2 glasses of water. Within a week, he noticed his morning brain fog disappearing. Within a month, his afternoon energy crashes became a thing of the past. His skin looked better, his digestion improved, and that sluggish feeling that had crept up on him in his late 60s began to fade away. The science behind this is remarkable. When you're properly hydrated, your blood flows more easily, reducing the strain on your heart. Your cells can absorb nutrients more efficiently. Your joints become better lubricated. Even your mood improves because dehydration is directly linked to feelings of anxiety and depression. But Dr. Harrison added one more element that made this practice even more powerful. He would add a pinch of high-quality sea salt to his second glass of water. Not table salt, which is processed and stripped of minerals, but real sea salt that contains trace minerals your body craves after a night of fasting. This helps with absorption and provides essential minerals that support everything from nerve function to muscle contraction. The third secret, the 5-minute movement medicine. Now, you might be expecting Dr. Harrison to recommend an intense morning workout. After all, we're constantly told that exercise is the fountain of youth. But what Dr. Harrison discovered was far more subtle and, surprisingly, far more effective for people over 60. He calls it movement medicine, and it takes exactly 5 minutes. The revelation came to him during his recovery from a minor knee surgery at age 72. Unable to do his usual morning jog, he was frustrated and worried about losing fitness. His physical therapist suggested some gentle movements to maintain mobility. What Dr. Harrison experienced during those simple exercises opened his eyes to something profound. These weren't exercises designed to build muscle or burn calories. They were movements designed to wake up the body gently, to lubricate the joints, and to activate the lymphatic system, which is crucial for removing toxins from the body. The lymphatic system doesn't have a pump like the cardiovascular system does. It relies on movement to function properly. And after hours of lying still during sleep, it needs a gentle nudge to start working efficiently. Dr. Harrison's 5-minute routine is elegantly simple. He starts with gentle neck rolls, slowly moving his head in a circle 5 times in each direction. This helps relieve the tension that builds up from sleeping in one position and gets blood flowing to the brain. Next, he does shoulder rolls, lifting his shoulders up toward his ears, rolling them back and then down. 10 gentle rolls to release tension and improve posture. Then comes what he calls the spinal wave. Standing with feet hip-width apart, he slowly rolls down one vertebra at a time, starting with his chin to his chest, then his shoulders, then his upper back, continuing until his hands hang toward the floor. Then he slowly rolls back up, one vertebra at a time. This movement lubricates the spine and helps maintain the flexibility that's so crucial for preventing back pain and maintaining good posture. His fourth movement is hip circles. With hands on his hips, he makes slow, gentle circles, 5 in each direction. This awakens the largest joints in the body and helps prevent the hip stiffness that's so common as we age. Finally, he does ankle rolls and calf raises. 10 circles in each direction for each ankle, then 10 gentle rises onto his toes and back down. This gets blood flowing in the legs and helps prevent the circulation problems that can plague older adults. The entire routine takes 5 minutes, but the effects last all day. Dr. Harrison found that this gentle morning movement eliminated the joint stiffness he'd accepted as normal. His balance improved dramatically, his posture straightened, and most surprisingly, his energy levels soared. He wasn't exhausting himself with intense exercise first thing in the morning. Instead, he was gently awakening his body and preparing it for whatever the day might bring. The beauty of movement medicine is that it can be modified for any ability level. If you have mobility limitations, many of these movements can be done sitting in a chair. If you have balance issues, you can hold onto a wall or counter. The goal isn't to push yourself to exhaustion. It's to lovingly wake up your body and remind it how good it feels to move. The fourth secret, the protein power. Start. The fourth secret that transformed Dr. Harrison's health goes against much of the conventional wisdom about breakfast. For decades, he'd started his mornings like most Americans, with coffee, maybe some toast or cereal, perhaps a piece of fruit. It seemed healthy enough. But what he discovered was that this traditional breakfast was actually sabotaging his energy, his mood, and his long-term health. The breakthrough came when he began monitoring his blood sugar levels as part of a research project. He was shocked to discover that his typical breakfast was sending his blood sugar on a roller coaster ride that left him exhausted by mid-morning and craving more carbohydrates by lunch. This pattern, he realized, was not just affecting his energy, it was affecting his brain function, his cardiovascular health, and his ability to maintain a healthy weight. The solution was surprisingly simple: protein, but not just any protein, and not at any time. Dr. Harrison discovered that eating 25 to 30 grams of high-quality protein within the first hour of waking could stabilize blood sugar, boost metabolism, and provide sustained energy throughout the morning. This wasn't about following a fad diet or restricting calories. This was about giving his body the building blocks it needed to function optimally. The science behind this is fascinating. As we age, our bodies become less efficient at processing protein. This leads to muscle loss, slower metabolism, and unstable blood sugar. But when you start your day with adequate protein, several amazing things happen. First, protein triggers the release of hormones that signal satiety, meaning you'll feel satisfied and won't crave sugary snacks later. Second, protein has a high thermic effect, meaning your body burns calories just digesting it. Third, protein provides a steady release of amino acids that your muscles need for repair and maintenance. Dr. Harrison's protein power start is elegant in its simplicity. He begins with 3 eggs, cooked any way he likes. Eggs are what nutritionists call a complete protein, meaning they contain all the essential amino acids your body needs. They're also rich in choline, which supports brain health, and vitamin D, which many older adults are deficient in. But eggs alone aren't enough to reach his 25-gram target. He adds a serving of Greek yogurt, which provides additional protein plus probiotics for gut health. The combination of eggs and Greek yogurt gives him exactly what his body needs to start the day strong. Sometimes he'll add a handful of nuts or a small piece of wild-caught salmon if he has leftovers from dinner. The key is consistency, not perfection. What Dr. Harrison noticed within days of making this change was remarkable. His morning energy was stable and sustained. The 10 a.m. crash that had plagued him for years disappeared completely. His thinking was clearer, his mood was more stable, and he found himself naturally eating less throughout the day because he felt genuinely satisfied. But perhaps most importantly, his muscle mass began to stabilize and even increase slightly. At 90, Dr. Harrison has more muscle mass than many men 20 years younger. This isn't because he spends hours in the gym. It's because he gives his body the protein it needs to maintain and build muscle tissue. The research supporting this approach is overwhelming. Studies show that older adults who eat adequate protein at breakfast have better muscle mass, stronger bones, improved cognitive function, and better blood sugar control. They also have lower rates of falls and fractures, which is crucial for maintaining independence as we age. The fifth secret, the gratitude reset. The fifth and final secret that Dr. Harrison credits with transforming his life might be the most powerful of all, yet it's the one that many people initially dismiss as too simple or too touchy-feely. It's what he calls his gratitude reset, and it takes just 3 minutes. But those 3 minutes, he says, changed not just his mornings, but his entire outlook on life. The discovery of this practice came during one of the darkest periods of Dr. Harrison's life. At 75, he lost his wife of 48 years to cancer. The grief was overwhelming. For months he went through the motions of his morning routine, but his heart wasn't in it. He was angry, bitter, and for the first time in his life, he felt old. His health began to decline, his blood pressure spiked, his sleep became fitful. The other morning practices that had served him so well seemed meaningless in the face of such profound loss. It was his daughter who suggested he try writing down 3 things he was grateful for each morning. He resisted at first. What did he have to be grateful for? His wife was gone, his body was aging, the world seemed full of problems. But his daughter persisted, and finally, more to humor her than because he believed it would help, he began the practice. The first morning he struggled to find even one thing. Eventually he wrote down that he was grateful for coffee. It felt ridiculous. The second morning was slightly easier. Coffee, his comfortable bed, and the fact that his arthritis wasn't bothering him that day. Still, it felt forced and meaningless. But he kept going. if only to tell his daughter he'd tried. Something shifted in the third week. Dr. Harrison found himself looking for things to be grateful for throughout the day, so he'd have something to write the next morning. He began noticing small pleasures he'd overlooked for years, the way morning light filtered through his kitchen window, the sound of birds outside his bedroom, the taste of a perfectly ripe banana. His focus was slowly shifting from what he'd lost to what he still had. The transformation was gradual but undeniable. His sleep improved, his blood pressure stabilized. His relationships with family and friends deepened as he became more present and less consumed by grief and worry. He wasn't just surviving anymore, he was beginning to thrive again. The science behind gratitude practice is robust and growing. Research shows that people who regularly practice gratitude have lower levels of stress hormones, better immune function, improved cardiovascular health, and even longer lifespans. Gratitude literally changes the brain, strengthening neural pathways associated with positive emotions and weakening those associated with anxiety and depression. But Dr. Harrison's approach to gratitude is specific and intentional. He doesn't just think grateful thoughts, he writes them down. There's something powerful about the physical act of writing that makes the practice more concrete and memorable. He keeps a small notebook by his bed, and after completing his breathing, water, movement, and protein practices, he takes 3 minutes to write down 3 specific things he's grateful for. The key word is specific. Instead of writing, "I'm grateful for my health," he might write, "I'm grateful that my hands are steady enough to write in this journal." Instead of, "I'm grateful for my family," he might write, "I'm grateful for the phone call from my grandson yesterday and the way he laughed when I told him about the silly thing my neighbor's cat did." This specificity forces the brain to really focus on the positive aspects of life, rather than just going through the motions. It creates what psychologists call a positive feedback loop, where noticing good things makes you more likely to notice more good things. Dr. Harrison also discovered that gratitude doesn't have to be reserved for obviously good things. Some of his most powerful gratitude entries focused on challenges that taught him something or difficulties that revealed his own strength. "I'm grateful for the patience I found yesterday when the grocery store was crowded and slow. I'm grateful that my body told me to rest when I was pushing too hard." The compound effect, how these 5 secrets work together. What makes Dr. Harrison's approach so powerful isn't any single practice in isolation. It's the way these 5 secrets work together, creating what he calls a compound effect that's greater than the sum of its parts. Each practice supports and amplifies the others, creating a morning routine that sets the tone for not just a good day, but a good life. The breathing practice calms the nervous system and prepares the body for the day ahead. The water ritual hydrates and detoxifies, creating the optimal internal environment for all other bodily functions. The movement medicine awakens the body gently and gets systems flowing. The protein power start provides sustained energy and supports muscle maintenance. And the gratitude reset creates a positive mental framework that colors everything that follows. Dr. Harrison has been following this routine for over 20 years now, and at 90, he's living proof that aging doesn't have to mean declining. His blood pressure is better than many 50-year-olds. His cholesterol levels are optimal. His bone density is excellent. His cognitive function is sharp. But perhaps most importantly, his quality of life is extraordinary. He still works part-time, consulting with younger cardiologists and mentoring medical students. He travels regularly to visit family and friends scattered across the country. He reads voraciously, exercises regularly, and maintains an active social life. When people ask him about his secret, he always says it's not one big thing. It's 5 small things done consistently every single morning. How to start your own transformation. If you're feeling inspired to try Dr. Harrison's 5 morning secrets, the key is to start slowly and build consistency rather than trying to do everything perfectly from day one. Dr. Harrison recommends beginning with just one practice and mastering it before adding the next. Most people find the breathing practice easiest to start with because it requires no equipment, no preparation, and can be done anywhere. Commit to just 2 minutes of intentional breathing every morning for 1 week. Set your alarm 2 minutes earlier if necessary. The investment of 2 minutes will pay dividends throughout your entire day. Once the breathing becomes automatic, add the water ritual. Prepare your 2 glasses of water the night before if that makes it easier. Remember, room temperature is key, and if you choose to add sea salt, just a small pinch in the second glass. The movement medicine can be added in the 3rd week. Remember, this isn't about athletic performance or calorie burning. It's about gently awakening your body and maintaining mobility. If any movement causes pain, modify it or skip it. The goal is to feel better, not to push through discomfort. The protein power start might require some meal planning, but it's worth the effort. Prepare hard-boiled eggs in advance if morning time is limited. Keep Greek yogurt stocked in your refrigerator. The investment in good nutrition pays off in sustained energy and better health. Finally, add the gratitude reset. Keep a small notebook and pen by your bedside. Don't worry about writing eloquently or finding profound insights. Simple, specific appreciation is perfect. Remember, Dr. Harrison didn't transform overnight. He built these practices gradually over months and years. The key is consistency, not perfection. Even if you miss a day or struggle with a particular practice, simply begin again the next morning. Your body and mind will thank you. The bigger picture, why this matters. In a world obsessed with complex solutions, expensive treatments, and dramatic interventions, Dr. Harrison's 5 morning secrets might seem almost disappointingly simple. But that's exactly what makes them so powerful. They're accessible to anyone, regardless of age, income, or physical ability. They require no special equipment, no expensive supplements, and no dramatic lifestyle changes. What they do require is the belief that you're worth 5 to 15 minutes of intentional self-care every morning. They require the understanding that small, consistent actions can create profound changes over time. And they require the willingness to invest in your future self, even when the benefits aren't immediately obvious. Dr. Harrison's story isn't just about one remarkable 90-year-old. It's about the possibility that exists for all of us to age, not just gracefully, but powerfully. It's about the understanding that our health and vitality aren't just matters of luck or genetics, but of choice and consistency. At 90, Dr. Harrison is still making plans for the future. He's still learning, still growing, still contributing. He's living proof that the number of candles on your birthday cake doesn't have to determine the quality of your life. What determines that quality is what you do day after day, morning after morning, to honor and care for the miracle that is your body and mind. These 5 morning secrets aren't just about adding years to your life, though they certainly can do that. They're about adding life to your years, ensuring that however many mornings you have left, they're filled with energy, clarity, purpose, and joy. So tomorrow morning, when you wake up, remember Dr. Harrison. Remember that somewhere, a 90-year-old cardiologist is starting his day with 2 minutes of intentional breathing, trusting that this simple act will set the tone for another day of vitality and purpose. And remember that you have the same choice, the same opportunity, the same potential for transformation. The question isn't whether these practices work. Dr. Harrison's life is proof that they do. The question is whether you're ready to give yourself the gift of these 15 minutes each morning, whether you're ready to discover what's possible when you treat your body and mind with the respect and care they deserve. Your future self is waiting, and it all starts tomorrow morning with just 2 minutes of breathing.